Peace and blessings. This is Raisa Kiwala, the divorced Muslimah coach. So far, I've been linking every verse that I share with you to this one from the Quran, which I see as the solution for everything. And it comes from chapter 13, verse 28. Verily, in the remembrance of Allah, do hearts find rest. So we're going to look at today's verse, which comes from chapter 2, verse 186, through that lens, okay? And that verse goes, and when my servants ask you about me, then surely I am near. I answer the prayer of the caller when he prays to me. So let them respond to my call without hesitation and believe and trust in me in the way required of them, so that they may be guided to spiritual and intellectual excellence and right conduct. That's a mouthful, I know. And so, one thing I want to point out that's really spoke to me and that I'd like to share with you from this verse is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always close to us. We know that He's as close as our jugular, right? Vein. And so the thing is that we just sometimes lose sight of that closeness when we move ourselves or distance ourselves from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my question is, do you believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He says, I answer the call of the caller? So let the caller come to me. Like, do you believe that without a shadow of a doubt? Do you really as you go through your day, do you remember and recognize and with some level of consciousness that Allah is right here next to you, right here next to me, right? And I don't want you to overthink it, except to think, do I trust Him? Like, that's a question I want you to ask yourself honestly, because each one of us has to answer that question for ourselves. And to help, to really go deep and recognize our own answers, we will have to look at our actions, because our deepest beliefs are always reflected in our actions. So, you can take a look at, are you operating, like the way you're showing up in life? Is it to get certain outcomes manifesting in your life? Like, you're doing this because you want this result, you're doing this because you want that result, and you're going to do this, and then that will happen, and then you do this and that will happen, right? Like, that's called controlling outcomes, right? Do you know what is your place and what is Allah's place and what is not your place? And what I mean by that is that we are only responsible for our intention and our effort, right? We're not responsible for the end result or the outcomes. And so when we know our place and we know what is our part, things go a lot smoother, right? And the other thing that I want to leave you with is, think about how close or how far you are from Allah. And think about who has moved away. Well, we know it's not Allah, right? So it has to be us. And think about how, look at the ways that you have moved away, whether it's in your, obligatory actions, whether it's in your dhikr, whether it's in your relationships. How is that, right? And think about, what is my part in this and what is required of me by Allah, right? And the other takeaway here is that don't ever, ever, ever hesitate to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah is promising us in this verse that He responds, that He responds to us, right? And we can make dua, we can ask, and with the belief, with conviction that He will respond. However way it looks, He's going to decide that, but there will be a response for your question and your asking, right? And even Shaitan knew this fact about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is somewhere where we can be really careful, because this is exactly where Shaitan wants to prey on us with our doubts and our insecurities to lead us astray. So this is the path to success, to guidance, right? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this is the path where He's going to guide us, right? And you can't achieve this anywhere else. Like you can't, there's nowhere else you can look or turn to get this type of guidance or direction or and ultimately success for this life and the next, except in your connection and your relationship and the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it spiritual and intellectual resilience, which is His true wisdom and enlightenment. And it's not just about book knowledge, right? It's about wisdom that comes from the soul. It comes from direction and a knowing. And we know we've all heard this verse before, so we know this intellectually, but sometimes it becomes difficult to remember this when we're in stressful situations, such as divorce, which does require remembrance of Allah, right? And I'm not just talking about the dhikr, I'm talking about a state of being beyond that. And isn't that what this month of Ramadan and fasting is all about? It's to cultivate that level of taqwa, of God consciousness. We will be talking about what gets in the way of successfully navigating divorce with spiritual and intellectual excellence and right conduct, which is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to do in the Quran. So look at the link below and you can sign up and get all of the details there. And I really look forward to moving forward in this conversation with you. If you found this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe on my YouTube channel, Raisa Kiwala, to get the rest of the videos that come out this Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.